Many people assume you need to live in the United States or have a social security number to use US banking, but that's not entirely true. There are multiple ways non-residents can access it. In this video, I'll explain exactly how I did it and walk you through the different ways non-US residents can access American banking without being US citizens and without having a social security number. For context, I do not have any personal ties to the United States. Still, because there are so many different reasons for wanting a US account, I'll go through 5 methods, starting with the easiest and ending with the most difficult. Depending on your goal, one of these options may be much better suited to you than the others. The good news is that non-residents actually have more choices than most people think. There are banks and financial platforms that work very well for international clients, but many people simply do not know about them. The real question is not whether it is possible, but which route makes the most sense for your situation. So in the next sections, I'll explain each option, the advantages and disadvantages, and when each method makes the most sense. Fortunately, there are several online options for non-US residents who want a USD account. The best known option is Wise. You can create an account remotely, complete the verification process online, and usually receive US account details within about a day. These details include a US routing number and account number, which means American companies can pay you as if you had a domestic US bank account. I personally use Wise for this exact purpose. So I receive those US-based affiliate payments into my Wise USD account and then transfer the money to my national bank account. Signing up for Wise is simple. You upload your identification document, verify your address, and complete the standard checks. Once approved, you can access your USD account details fairly quickly. There are similar alternatives as well, such as Revolut. These platforms can also be opened online, often within a day. They are useful for sending and receiving US dollars internationally. They may provide debit cards, and their customer support is usually decent. However, there are some important limitations. First, these services are not traditional US banks. Wise, for example, is based in the UK and is not technically a bank. It is an electronic money institution, or EMI. This means it works differently from a normal bank, and there can be a higher risk of accounts being frozen or closed unexpectedly. Second, because these platforms are not real US banks, they do not help you access US credit cards or build a US credit history. Third, availability depends heavily on your country of residence. In Europe, I can access most features, including US account details and debit cards. But in many Asian countries and other regions, users may receive a much more limited version of the service. So if your goal is simply to receive USD payments and move them to your local bank, Fintech platforms like Wise or Revolut are excellent. They are quick, affordable, and easy to set up. But if you want deeper access to US banking, you'll need to look at the next options. The second method is especially useful if you have an online business. The United States has strong banking options for businesses, and non-residents can access them by forming a US LLC first. After creating the LLC, you can use that company to open a US business bank account. This might sound complicated, but forming an LLC as a foreigner is actually quite straightforward. 2 popular banks for this setup are Mercury and Relay. I personally use both, and they offer a very smooth online experience. You do not need to visit a branch. The interfaces are modern, and they're built with business owners in mind. You can create virtual debit cards, manage payments easily, and in Mercury's case, even access a credit card feature if you deposit at least $25,000 as collateral. The biggest advantage of Mercury and Relay is that they are based in the United States and use FDIC-insured partner banks. Mercury offers protection of up to $5 million, while Relay offers up to $3 million through its partner banking network. That provides a much stronger safety net compared with many fintech-only options. To open these accounts, you first need a US LLC. Many non-residents choose states like Wyoming or Delaware. The process can be completed online and usually costs around $300 to $400. After your LLC is formed and you receive your EIN, opening the bank account is fairly simple. You provide your business details, EIN, formation documents, and a short explanation of what your company does. You do not need a US personal address or a physical presence in the country. The application usually takes around 15 minutes, and approval often comes within 1 or 2 business days. There are still drawbacks. Mercury and Relay are business accounts, not personal accounts, so they will not help you build a personal US credit history. They also operate through partner banks, meaning they are not traditional banks in the same sense as Chase or Bank of America. In addition, not every country is supported. Some countries, including places like India or Bangladesh, may not be eligible. Still, if you qualify and you run a business, this is one of the best options. You get proper US business banking, strong online tools, useful features, and solid deposit protection. The third option is quite different. It is especially relevant for people from countries where most US banking and fintech platforms are unavailable. This category includes offshore-style US dollar bank accounts, often based in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rican banks are interesting because Puerto Rico is a US territory connected to the American financial system. These banks can provide US routing numbers and allow you to send and receive USD payments. However, Puerto Rico has a separate banking framework from mainland US banks, which creates both benefits and risks. Some banks in this category include Zenas Bank, FV Bank, and CB International Bank. I've worked with Zenas Bank for some clients, and the platform is fairly easy to use. It gives you access to a USD account, a US routing number, and basic online banking features. The important point is that these are personal accounts, and they can often be opened remotely. You do not need a social security number or local US address. This makes them much more accessible than many mainland US banking options. For example, Zenas accepts applicants from more than 150 countries. Its restricted country list is much shorter than many other platforms. So, if you live in a country such as India, Ghana, Bangladesh, or another place where fintech or US business banking options are limited, Puerto Rico banks may offer a possible route into the US dollar system. But there are major disadvantages. First, these accounts usually come with monthly fees. Zenas, for instance, charges $20 per month. They explain this by saying they operate as a full reserve bank, meaning they do not lend out customer deposits to earn money. Instead, they charge customers directly through monthly fees. The bigger issue is regulation and protection. Puerto Rican banks are not protected by FDIC insurance in the same way mainland US banks are. If the bank fails, there is no federal deposit insurance guaranteeing the return of your funds. There have also been examples of Puerto Rico-based banks ceasing operations, so this risk is not just theoretical. My view is that Puerto Rico banks can be useful if you need a low-barrier way to access US dollar banking, and other options are close to you. But I would not keep large sums of money there. It is better to treat these accounts as payment gateways. Receive money, then move it regularly to your main bank. The fourth method brings us closer to the real US banking system. This is the first option that gives you a legitimate personal US account in your own name through a major American financial institution. The requirements are higher, but it can be done remotely. The best option I found is Charles Schwab. The interesting part is that you are technically opening an international brokerage account. This account gives you access to US investments, but it can also provide a fully functional personal checking account and debit card. Schwab is attractive because it does not require a US address, and the account can be opened online from many countries. Charles Schwab is also one of the largest financial institutions in the United States. One thing to understand is that because this is connected to a brokerage account, the protection is not FDIC insurance in the usual way. Instead, it is covered by SIPC protection, which applies to brokerage accounts. In practice, for this type of setup, the difference may not matter much for many users, but it is still important to understand. The debit card is one of the strongest features. It has no foreign transaction fees, no ATM fees worldwide, and Schwab reimburses ATM fees charged by other banks. Since the account is linked to brokerage services, you can also invest in US stocks, bonds, and even access certain US Treasury products that many non-residents normally cannot use. To apply, go to Charles Schwab's website and look for the international account option. The application takes around 20 minutes and can be completed online. However, Schwab has recently started requesting either an SSN or ITIN in many cases. Since non-residents usually do not have a social security number, the practical option is an ITIN. An ITIN, or Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, is a tax identification number for people who are not eligible for an SSN. Many banks now ask foreign applicants for an ITIN for reporting and verification purposes. You can apply through the IRS, but that may require sending your physical passport. Many people therefore use certified acceptance agents who can handle the process remotely. The downside is that not all countries are eligible, so you need to check during the application. A similar option is Alliant Credit Union, which may also accept remote applications but generally requires an ITIN. For someone who wants a real US personal account without traveling to America, Charles Schwab is one of the strongest choices. The fifth and most complete method is opening an account with a traditional US bank, such as Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, or similar institutions. This is the route you take if you want to build a US credit score and eventually qualify for US credit cards. This method requires the most preparation. First, you need an ITIN. At this level, it becomes almost essential because you are properly entering the US banking and credit system. Second, you need some US infrastructure. That usually includes a US phone number for verification. The more challenging part is having some form of physical presence, usually a residential address with proof. A mailbox or PO box normally will not work because banks often check addresses. Third, you need to visit a branch in person. Major US banks generally do not open accounts remotely for non-residents. You need to schedule an appointment and complete the process face-to-face. When you go, bring 2 forms of identification, such as your passport and driver's license. The benefit is that once you complete the process, you can open a genuine personal bank account with a major US bank as a non-resident. A smart approach is to start with a bank that is more flexible. Some banks may accept a visitor visa or other documentation instead of strict proof of address. PNC Bank is one example that may allow non-residents to open accounts with a visitor visa. After opening your first traditional US account, you can use the bank statements from that account as supporting documentation when applying to larger or stricter banks, such as Bank of America or Chase. It also helps to visit cities with large international communities, such as Miami, where bankers are often more familiar with non-resident clients. The advantages of this route are significant. You get a full US checking account in your own name, FDIC protection, access to credit cards, potential loans, and the ability to build a US credit history over time. For people who plan to visit the US often, do business there, or build long-term financial ties, this can be extremely valuable. The downside is that it takes planning. You need to travel to the US, prepare documents, and accept that approval is not guaranteed. This method makes the most sense if you are already planning a US trip or if your business and income justify the effort. So, which option should you choose? If you only need to receive USD payments and transfer them to your local bank, choose method 1. Wise or similar fintech platforms are fast, simple, and inexpensive. If you run an online business and need proper US business banking, method 2 is likely best. Form a US LLC and open an account with Mercury or Relay. If you live in a restricted country and most other services are unavailable, method 3 with Puerto Rico banks may be worth considering. Just avoid keeping large balances there. If you want a real personal US account that can be opened remotely, method 4 with Charles Schwab is probably the strongest option. And if you are willing to visit the United States and want the fullest access to traditional banking, method 5 with major US banks gives you the most complete setup, including the possibility of building US credit. If this helped, make sure to like the video, and if you have questions about any of these methods, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.